Welcome to Benny's Designs. I thought I'd do a very quick flick of these two colour books. I've had them a while, but when they arrived I was a bit kind of disgruntled because if you see that gorgeous fine detailed drawing here, and that looks to me like Harry Clarke, who used to be he used to illustrate. He's an illustrator, but he also did stained glass windows, and he does some gorgeous stuff, but he draws in all these little patterns. On every single thing has got a pattern on it. So I was a bit disappointed when I opened it up and there was nothing like that inside. So I think a lot of these are vintagey, so I thought I'd do a really big quick colour book flip. And I bought both of them because I thought, oh yeah, it's going to be all butterflies, and again it's grown on me, shall we say. But when I first opened it I was a bit disappointed, so it sat on my shelf, and I thought I need to use these, so I think I'm going to use them as colour references and practices. I want to use my Derwent Graphic liner pens, paint pens. Now it's a bit acrylic, but if you put a little squirt, a little drop, you can't pump it because you get big blobs. But if you on a damp surface, probably a ceramic plate is better. Anything that's ceramic with a glaze will wipe off. Otherwise, they will just dry onto anything and stain them because they're an ink base. They will act as a very nice watercolour if you just do them one at a time. So there's a particular skill with these, and I'm just learning it. I'm making it up as I go along, so I'm having to practice. But I love the fact that they're really, really strong colours, and I want to use them in my Joanna Basford's Ivy and the Inky Butterfly. But I've had to practice with them, and I've had a couple of mistakes with them. So I've practiced as a watercolour, but they're not the easiest pens, I have to say. I love them, but it is a bit blotchy when you're in the middle of something. But you do get the most gorgeous colours. So I'm practicing what colours to put together. And I'm making a little note of them as well, so I can get a really nice watercolour effect. So I thought this book is going to be perfect to practice these colours on. So I did this earlier. There is a video on this, and backgrounds and turning colours into other colours, and I made a yellow ochre, so I was quite pleased with that. So that's what I wanted to do with these books, but I thought I'd do a very quick flick. It does say they are $6.99, and they're from www.carltonbooks.co.uk, Puzzles and Games, Carlton Books. And they're quite a thick book, and they seem to be quite well made. The paper is thick photocopy paper, shall we say, probably 100-120, but it does take a little bit of just a damp brush. So I'm not keen on a lot of the patterns, so I thought I would use it as a practice. So I'll do a very quick flick. This one, the first one, is the Fairyland, and again I was a bit disappointed because this particular painting is not inside. So again, you can tell it's got some vintage things in. So my theory, which I might be wrong, is that these have come out of pattern now. They're not patterned in unless they bought the pattern. And the Victorian ones are all running out in the 2000s. So they've kind of pinched them, and then they've kind of done things with them and kind of made them. See, I think some of them are quite vintagey. That's quite sketchy. It's quite a nice one. I'm sure I've seen this one before. This looks Victorian. I will put my Midori under there, which will just lift it up a little bit, I think. see that better. So I thought some of these are going to be good for practicing with the chameleon pens. Some will be practicing my watercolour skills, getting from light to dark, lovely soft watercolours. But the bigger ones, they're chameleon pens. I probably will photocopy them first. So there is a big mixture in here. And I suppose that's okay, but if you wanted to, there's one or two I can't show because it's just not the watershed. You see, this one's quite pretty, this one. So there's all sorts in here. There's big designs, small designs, easy designs, little tiny intricate designs. So as a practice book, by the time you fill this, you will have a lot of skills colouring. Colouring big spaces, small spaces, and you can do different water medium in as well, which is quite nice. So if there was a page you really didn't like on the other side, you can use markers, or you can use chameleon pens, you could use acrylics, you could if you don't want the other side, you can do all sorts. There is a wagtail. Wagtail, are you in here? Are you supposed to be here? Yes, here's the boy. Good boy, Alfie, settle down. So this is quite nice. This is a double page. But again, I hate these middles. So I might break the spine on this, I think, because I'd like to get into there, because it is a nice double page, this. So some of them I like, some of them I look, but it doesn't matter. It's a practice page. You're going to get a lot of skills if you use all these different patterns. You see, I wouldn't want to do this in watercolour, but I would do that with a chameleon pen and get some lovely soft butterfly wings. But I like the other side, so I'd probably photograph these three and use them for chameleons, because I like the big spaces, but you wouldn't maybe want to do the chameleons for this one. I think some have been used again and repeated. This would be quite nice. And I think some of them are quite kind of vintagey. Again, if you were practicing with a very fine rigger, that would be quite nice. Or pencil work. Again, that's another one for chameleons, I think. The chameleon pens are very good for large areas, for getting some really nice gradation, I think is the word. So we've got, I didn't notice that before, all those toadstools, they're quite nice. So if you like fairies, this is a lovely book. It wasn't what I was expecting, and they're not normally my favourite, but again, I'm going to use the book because it would be handy as a practice. And believe me, by the time you get to the end of all these pages, your colouring skills will have become better times 100, easy. This is quite nice. It's like a wallpaper, but you could do them differently, or you could do everyone the same. Oh, hi Cheshire Cat, welcome to Bunny's Designs. Anybody else popping in? So, I think by the time you get there, you'll be quite good. Come on, Alf, darling. So, I'll do a complete flip, apart from an odd one or two. And I think they've been drawn by a more modern artist, I have to say. whereas these to me look quite vintagey, unless they've been designed to be vintagey. But I think this is an eclectic mix of certain pages. So if you wanted to practice a background, that would be a perfect one. Oh, this one is the Fairyland colouring book. Just add colour and create a masterpiece. And it's by Carlton Books. So it's quite thick. But again, I was a bit disappointed, but it's kind of growing on me now. But there isn't anywhere in this book what's on the front cover. So don't, when you see that, you get all excited about all that fine line detail. Sorry, Alfie's just going to let everybody in again. So again, tiny spaces. Again, you could practice backgrounds on here, or you could practice redrawing some flowers and altering pages. That's another one that this would be good for, altering pages, because there's enough space in here to do that. And this one looks like a stained glass window, so that would be quite nice to colour. And this is more like a traditional drawing. It's kind of sketched. So she's quite pretty. And she's filling, I think that's a bluebell, as a bucket. So again, I think that's quite Victorian, that one. And I think there's a couple more. Again, I think that's quite Victorian, that one. So I was a little bit disappointed, but now I've got a purpose for it. I like it. It's going to do well. I can see those chameleon pens with the water lilies. And the last page. So it says, this is a Carlton book, copyright 2015. Does it say no photocopying? But photocopying for private use is fine. So that one, and of course because it matches, I have seen this page before, so it's in other colour books, this one, and I've coloured it in chameleon pens, this one. So this one is by the same company, and it's called the Butterfly Colouring Book. So we'll have a quick flick of this one. And again, I was a bit disappointed with this one, but again, I've decided to get over that, and I'm using it as a practice. So here, I've been practicing the same Derwent ink, graph ink pens. So I've got some complementary colours, and I've been playing with oranges and greens, and purples and pinks. So it's a good practice page, and I did work with that one. I worked with my Derwent brush, so it's worked quite well, but I didn't want to ruin it because I actually did like this page. And I think the reason I went off the books is the ones that I like, they're on both pages, and the ones I don't like are on another double page. So you couldn't kind of waste one that you didn't like because it didn't fall that way. But again, this is really nice butterflies on this side, so I like this one. And if you like butterflies, you will like this book. It has some, again, patterns, or it has different butterflies. I think this is a pattern. If you look, this is the same, and that one's the same. So it's like a wallpaper. But they are patterned in their reality kind of patterns, if that's the right word. They're drawn correctly. That's I know what I want to say. Sorry, guys. That looks like the monarch butterfly. So if you want to practice all the monarch colours, that'd be quite good. That's like a line drawing one. There's roses and butterflies, fancy patterns, make-believe patterns, swirls. There's all sorts in here. So again, you could do backgrounds, or you could practice altering pages. So you could copy the little butterflies all around these two big butterflies if you wanted. So I like books like this because they get neglected, and really, I've bought it, I really want to use it. Again, this one's got some really beautiful shaped butterflies on here. So this playing with inks is going to be perfect, but I have to use them well watered down because inks normally go straight through pages, and this isn't particularly thick. So again, have a practice on the back page. This is a beautiful double page spread. And I did put something between that, and I think I forgot. I didn't like the butterflies at the back, so I used chameleon pens because I really like this page, and I wish I'd photocopied it now because I actually quite like this page. You can use it for all sorts, chameleon pens, pencils, anything you want, but it's quite a nice, it is quite a nice page, is that one. Again, swirly, beautiful patterns. I would probably take this and fill the whole page, I think. I know it's a heart, but I think I'd fill the whole page. There's some very simple butterflies, mirrored butterflies. Again, that's a very large pattern, but I do like this particular, and I like this with the chameleon pens as well. There's quite a few pages as well. You don't, it's not very expensive. I think it's $6.99 this one. But if you like butterflies, you'll really like these. Again, they're gorgeous butterflies. It's actually growing on me the more I'm looking at it. And this one I think is the other one, Little Monarchs, but kind of, just see if I can zoom in a bit. So you can get a slightly better look. There's some really pretty butterflies there. So there seems to be something for everyone in this book. And again, by the time you've finished this book, your skills at colouring in and staying within the lines and being creative are going to change dramatically by the time you get to the end. The first page you do, you'll always be a little bit apprehensive, but by the time you've got to the back, you will probably be a whiz at every supply you have. Alfie, come here. So the more I'm turning these pages now and looking, the more I'm getting inspired by different things. This is my favourite page, and I want to do this with my professional watercolours. I really like that page because it's quite vintagey, and I'm a bit of an old fud, so I do like that. So again, lots and lots of patterns, dragonflies and water lilies and a butterfly. And again, there are quite a number of pages in this book. This is quite interesting. I think it might drive you insane by the time you finish it, but it's got ink spills on it as well. So that's quite an interesting one to do. It's a bit like a Bennett Klein. It's a bit like a Kirby Roseanne. You have to pick the butterflies off one at a time because you won't know which wing's for which. Again, some more nicely drawn traditional butterflies. Roses and butterflies. It's quite a nice page. And I like the fact you've got different thicknesses. You know, that's obviously a thicker pen, and that's a fine liner. So that's quite nice. This is a page that we've seen before with the butterflies on it. I've done this one in chameleon pens, which is quite nice. I normally wouldn't bother to do this one, but I think it might grow on me if I want to do something. But I do like the other side, so that wouldn't bother me, really. It's not really my thing, but you know, you can use it for colour if you're practicing. And every time you practice to stay in the lines, this is a lovely one. Again, I'd like to use chameleons on that. That's quite a nice one. And this butterfly, the butterflies go on top of each other. That's quite nice with the rose. Oh, we have a sooty. So again, that other one with the flowers. That's a pretty one with the little roses around the butterflies. Still more pages. That's a pretty one. So they are growing on me, and ideas are popping into my head. And I've looked at this book a couple of times, but I've never done a flip, so of course now I've seen every single one, and they're growing on me, so that's quite nice. That's very pretty. It's a very pretty page, is that one with the butterflies. So it's got lots and lots of butterflies, if that's your thing, and I think it's probably the most I've seen as a butterfly book. I've never seen one with quite so many butterflies in it. I suppose what you could do with this one is cut it out, because the outside pattern isn't as complicated, and stick it on card, and then you could put a hole through it and you'd have a mobile, because they're identical. I think they're both identical. And you could even photocopy it lots of times and make a whole mobile with them if you wanted, because you could stick two of them together. I think they're dahlias, butterflies, and then butterflies drawn over the top of butterflies. And then swirly ones. And a huge giant butterfly at the end. And then of course these are more traditional ones, so that's the swallowtail. That looks like a peacock butterfly. That looks like a cabbage white. That's the red admiral. I think it's a painted lady. So you can actually see what they are. And that one looks like the tortoiseshell. So again, if you want to use reality, you can pick out half a dozen of these in this book. So I thought I'd do a really quick flick. Again, they're $6.99. It says by Puzzle Games, Carlton Books. There's an ISBN, which is 9781780977188, and it says other titles: Dazzling Patterns, Flowers and Nature, Kaleidoscope, Mandalas, Tattoos. So they do quite a lot of other things as well, but again, it is, you know, it's as thick as your finger. It is quite a nice chunky book. It's not thin. It's not quite as thick, or is it? It's not quite as thick as the Inky Butterfly, but there's not much in it. And of course we all know that the Joanna's book has got quite a few pages in it. So thank you for watching.